Hello dear friends, welcome once again at Lit eCity YouTube channel where you find interesting stuff related with NET, and in today's session we will have a quiz time on new criticism, a rather very popular literary theory. In fact, one of the first literary theories of 20th century that changed the reader's way of reading a particular text. So here are 20 questions related with new criticism that are quite advanced and will help you. Our first question, dear friend, is in the essay Criticism as Pure Speculation, John Crow Ransom proposes that a poem is a logical structure having a local texture. It's a very important and very much critically discussed statement that poem is a logical structure having a local texture. Now, what does Ransom mean by this phrase local texture? Our options are: first, the story or situation that gives the argument of the poem. Second, the thing that qualifies a discourse as being poetic. C, both A and B. And the last option is the devices that give the poem its core meaning. Now, as we all know that for new critics, especially for critics like Ransom, both form and content were very important part, and also the core text is important part. While the logical structure means the argument, the logic behind the text, the local texture is the thingness, the particular quality that qualifies, that gives the object its poetic quality. So the correct option for this is the thing that qualifies a discourse as being poetic. Next question, dear friends, is given below are two statements marked A and R, where A stands for an assertion while R for reason. Read both these statements and pick the correct option, the correct relation between two. A or assertion is John Crow Ransom, Allen Tate, Cleanth Brooks, and Robert Pan Warren. They are also known as Southern critics. And the R or reason behind it is that they all were associated with South American universities or a particular South American university. Now our options are: A is correct but R is wrong. Both A and R are correct, but R is not correct reason for A. Both A and R are correct and R is correct reason for A, and none of these two statements are correct. Now, if you know some background of new critics, we all know that it was influenced by the ideas of Matthew Arnold, T.S. Eliot, but actually it flourished in Southern America, and it is under the tutelage of John Crow Ransom, who was first a pupil then a teacher at a University of Mississippi, that is Vanderbilt University, and he basically influenced a whole generation of students who popularized the notion of new criticism. So yes, both these statements are correct, and yes, R is the correct reason, is correct particular reason behind this assertion. Some background information I also like to provide that John Crow Ransom, he was teacher. First he was pupil, then a teacher at Vanderbilt University, Mississippi. He was a leading member of the group of writers which are known as Southern Agrarians or Fugitives. Now, fugitive was the term of a poetry magazine co-founded by Ransom and Allen Tate. The Fugitive, which was this university's literary social journal, professed agrarian values and rejected Northern America's modern technology, big business, and human displacement. Third question, dear friends, is about I.A. Richards, who has given a comprehensive analysis of different kinds of meanings. According to him, four factors play important part in formation of meaning. Which among these is not one of these four factors? You have to find out the particular one of these which is not one of the factors. Is it sense? Second is tone. Third is intention. And the last one is context. Dear friends, as you can see, according to Richards, the meaning can acquire many shapes due to many factors. And out of these, it is context about which he doesn't talk. Rather than context, he talks about feeling. So sense, tone, intention, and feeling. These are the four factors which basically give the particular meaning, the totality, the wholeness of a meaning. The next question is rather a practical question. Suppose a writer, he gives or she gives a topmost priority to sense, subordinates his or her feelings, his tone follows conventions, and makes his intention or her intention distinctly clear. Now, such a writer is writing which type of book? Is it a historical fiction, a political speech, a scientific report, or a fantasy? Dear friends, this also comes from I.A. Richards' projection of writing, that how different kind of writing have different kind of texture, and a person who basically subordinates the feelings and follows conventions and intention is clear, he is definitely or she is definitely writing a scientific report. Now, next question is, one of the most famous definition of new criticism is given by Cleanth Brooks, and that is, the new critic, like the Snark, is a very elusive beast. Which prominent feature of the school Brooks here is emphasizing by using this analogy with the mythical creature Snark? Now, is it rigidity, or is it its radicalness, or is it orthodox nature, or the last one, non-definable? So Snark, which is seen rarely, which is almost a quasi-mythical creature, different persons describe this particular creature in different terms, which shows that new criticism is also not a clearly defined approach towards criticism and literature. It is rather non-definable, and that is why he used the metaphor or the simile of a snark to define this particular approach. Arrange the following essays in the chronological order of their publication. All very, very important works which we can talk about new criticism. First is the Intentional Fallacy. Second is the Affective Fallacy. Third one is Criticism Inc. And last one is Pure and Impure Poetry. All very, very important essays that contributed to the development of new criticism. The options are: first is first, then third, then second, and then fourth. Then there is third, fourth, first and second, first, second, third, and fourth. And rather than going, we should know about how they were written. Yes, the earliest of these is Criticism Inc., which is John Crow Ransom's work. And then as we move ahead, we have other works like this Pure and Impure Poetry, which was written by Robert Pan Warren. And then these two essays, the Intentional Fallacy, the Affective Fallacy by Wimsatt, and they were published in this order, 1946 and 1941. So Affective Fallacy is the last of these four. Our next question is, according to John Crow Ransom, there are three types of trained performers who possess the talents required for a critic. Which among these is not one of them? Now we know that Ransom has basically given this idea that criticism is a professional activity. Now, for being a professional activity, we need some trained performers. So he gave a description of three such performers. First can the artist, the second can be the philosopher, then there may be the university teacher or the historian. There is one about which he doesn't talk or which he doesn't consider to be a trained performer for criticism. And among these, it is the historian. Actually, he thinks, yes, the artist himself or herself can judge or criticize his or her own work, but still he lacks a particular vision. Same is the problem with the philosopher. He is also not fully occupied to do this task. It is only the learned university teacher which is fully capable to analyze the poetic or the literary quality of a work. Which of the following essay or essays can be regarded as a valid extension of the essay, the intentional fallacy? We all know that how Wimsatt has emphasized that to locate the intention of the writer in the work is a fallacy, which is basically, according to him, a critic should avoid. Now, the same ideas were later used by some other critics also in different terminology, but giving almost the same thoughts. Was it the death of the author? Or is it the essay, What is an Author? Or the Chicago critics, The Fallacy of the Neoclassic Species? Now, the options are only first and second. Second is only second and third. First and third, or all of the above. Dear friends, all these three essays are very popular one, and actually it is first two essays, The Death of the Author and What is an Author, which are written respectively by Roland Barthes and Michel Foucault, which again talk about that we cannot have exact information regarding author's intention, author's meaning, purpose. These things cannot be taken into consideration while analyzing a text. Wimsatt's essay, The Chicago Critics, The Fallacy of the Neoclassic Species, is actually a defense of his own opinion and rejecting Chicago critics' opinion regarding new criticism. So this is not the case. Gustave Lanson was the chief proponent of explication the text, which is a technique of interpretation, and new critics adopted this, but they used their own term for it, and their term is it open reading, objective reading, close reading, or organic reading? I think it is an easy one to pick, because we know that we associate close reading with new critics. Yes, explication the text means a close reading in which the critic very minutely read the text, going word by word, even punctuation marks, and finding out irony, paradox, tension in that particular poem. Given below again are two statements regarding new critics, rejection of paraphrasing. Here A stands for an assertion and R for reason. Read them and pick the correct option. The assertion is splitting a poem into form and content neutralizes the message of the poem. And the reason is message is made of content and form is mere external part. Now, A is correct, R is wrong. A and R are correct, but R is not correct. Reason for A. Both A and R are correct. R is correct for reason for A. Neither A nor R is correct. Dear friends, if we look at both statements, you can understand, yes, because new critics believed in the organic concept of a work. They considered a work as a complete whole, autonomous. It means that they were not in favor of splitting, or we can say according to them that if we divide a poem into form and content, it can affect negatively to the message of the poem. So for them, message is not just content. For them, message is both content and form. So obviously R is wrong. So A is correct, but R is not correct statement. The Chicago School of Critics is informed by the Aristotelian concept that every individual object of art is produced by four causes. Now, which among the following causes is not one of the four causes? Was it the efficient cause, the abstract cause, the final cause, and the material cause? Out of these four, it is actually the abstract cause which they do not talk about. Instead of it, they talk about the formal cause. So the four causes are the efficient, the formal, the final, and the material cause, which according to them basically produced an object of art is produced because of these four causes. In his essay, Technique as Discovery, Mark Schorer discusses three novelists to prove his point. He basically discussed their great novels and tried to point out that some of them were able to use technique and some were totally ignorant of technique. So now, among these writers, which of the following is not one of these three? Is it Virginia Woolf, D.H. Lawrence, James Joyce, or H.G. Wells? Dear friends, it is Virginia Woolf about whom he doesn't talk. Rather, he talks about Tono Bungay by H.G. Wells, D.H. Lawrence, Sons and Lovers, and James Joyce, Portrait of Artist as a Young Man, and shows that H.G. Wells doesn't care for technique. D.H. Lawrence uses technique, but still for him matter or his own personal life is more important, while James Joyce is a superb artist who uses technique in his novels. Good poetry is unity of all meaning from the extremes of intention and extension. In this famous statement by Allen Tate, intention stands for, is it denotative meaning, connotative meaning, ambiguity, or surface meaning? Dear friends, the concept of tension is very much popular, which was propounded by Allen Tate, which according to him is combination of both denotative and connotative meaning. And for him, intention is connotative meaning, while extension is denotative meaning. With which Critic, the concept of gesture, which indicate rhythm, cadence, all devices such as symbols is associated. According to him, all these rather external elements create the gesture of a particular work. Who was this critic? Was it Ivor Winters, Allen Tate, Kenneth Burke, or R.P. Blackmore? Dear friends, gesture as a concept was given and popularized by R.P. Blackmore, who himself was an important and popular poet of his time. Which of the following measures is a major difference between the New Critics and the Chicago schools? We know that both of them overlap in their theories, but there were some vital difference between their beliefs, between their concept and working of text. Was it pluralistic view of a work, objective assessment, organic view of work, or is it both pluralistic view of work and organic? Dear friends, both were have same ideas regarding objective assessment of a work, and both have similar opinions regarding that work is basically organic. But while New Critics were not pluralistic, they have a single approach. They didn't consider, they always find there is only one possible explanation of a work, while Chicago critics like R.S. Crane believed in the pluralistic approach, and it is from this point of view that they differ from the New Criticism. So the answer is pluralistic view of a work. E.D. Hirsch's Validity in Interpretation was an effective counter-argument against one of the seminal concepts of New Criticism. Which was this concept? Was it the intentional fallacy? Was it the affective fallacy, or close reading, or text as an organic whole? Now, Hirsch basically, when this particular concept was popularized, he pointed out that there was a problem and you cannot ignore that particular angle, which according to him is the intentional fallacy. Or we can say Hirsch was very much, he wanted to emphasize the role of author's intention. He wanted to make this point that we cannot ignore, we should not become completely unaware of author's intention while interpreting a work. So it was an counter argument against intentional fallacy. Which of the following statements regarding the fundamental principles of New Criticism is or are correct? First, it eschews humanistic approach towards the appreciation of literature. then it calls for a more formalistic and objective approach towards the appreciation of literature. It heavily draws on critical insights of Matthew Arnold and T.S. Eliot, and post-structuralist approaches like deconstruction help new criticism to become irrelevant. Where the options are first, second, third and fourth, first, second and fourth, or all of the above. Dear friends, if you look at these options carefully, you will find that these all are valid when we consider the concept of new criticism. So yes, all of the above are correct. Which among the following defining essays of new criticism is not the one that is penned by the influential critic of this school, Cleanth Brooks? Is it irony as a principle of structure, the language of paradox, the heresy of paraphrase, poetry, a note on ontology? Dear friends, all these are very popular essays, but out of these 4 essays, poetry and note on ontology is penned by Ransom, John Crow Ransom, and it is again a very popular essay. The rest 3 essays, very popular essays, are written by Cleanth Brooks. With which critic the terms showing and telling in context of narration are associated? Is it Wayne C. Booth, R.S. Crane, Percy Lubbock, or R.P. Blackmore? It was actually first this critic who used these terms showing and telling, and then these terms were later adopted by other critics also to differentiate between different types of narration. But it is exactly Percy Lubbock who first used this differentiation. The last question of the day is again a very important essay, The Concept of Plot and the Plot of Tom Jones, which presents a revision of the Aristotelian concept of plot. Aristotle considered plot as one of the part of 6 constituent part of a work, or especially of a tragedy. But according to this critic, plot is much more than that. There can be thoughts, there can be character, and there can be action which devise a plot. And he widely praises Tom Jones as having one of the greatest plot. This critic was, whether it is Wayne C. Booth, R.S. Crane, Allen Tate, or Mark Schorer. Dear friend, it was the Chicago critic R.S. Crane who wrote this very popular, very critically acclaimed essay. Okay friends, that's all for today, but keep watching this space because very soon we will have some other sessions related with quiz, and also please help subscribe to and make this channel grow so that more students can get benefited from these quizzes, these information. So keep supporting this channel. Thank you, dear friends.